Rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, children of the Lord. That's what my mama used to say every morning, getting up her 6 children, rise. But the song really goes, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine, give God the glory, glory, rise, shine. Give God the glory, glory, soldiers of the Lord. Why? Because he chose you to wake up this morning, chose me to wake up this morning to a day we will never, ever, ever see again. And for that, we should give him the honor, the praise, the glory, the hallelujah, the worship, but most importantly, the acknowledgement, because he asked us to rise, to be of service to him and our fellow human beings. See, I acknowledge my God, who I met 33 plus years ago while underneath a parked car. That's right, underneath a parked car. I'll tell you the story in a little bit. But first, I just need to say, because he met me, delivered me, and prepared me from underneath that parked car 33 plus years ago, I have to, I must, I am honored to give him the acknowledgement first. So, yes, I'm Edwina B., known as Miss Cuckoo for Cocoa Pops, right? And I want to first say that my last name is not important. No, it's not. Because I've learned through the song by Donald Lawrence called Spiritual. We are not natural beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings living and walking on this natural journey here on earth called life. And so I know that it is more about the spirit that is operating through this vessel. So I want to share with you on April the 20th and the 27th of this month, right? Invite you to my free virtual presentation on how somebody like me, a former alcoholic, a former addict, and crackhead and prostitute, have been prepared through my journey of transparency and authenticity. People say, how can you say those things on live TV? Why? Because I've been set free. From recovery, I have emerged empowered and enlightened to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. So when you have been set free, free you are indeed, which is why I know I was chosen. Many of us in that world have died. And our literature from a 12-step spiritual program called Alcoholics Anonymous, that I've been a part of for 33 plus years, says that some of us must die in order for some of us to live. Guess what? Those who are chosen to be a part of this program, we have an obligation, and it does become an honor to share our experience, our strength, our hope, our wisdom, our perspective. But more importantly, it has to be done with humility that brings about transparency and authenticity. That's why sometimes I come on with my wig, a face full of makeup, and when the spirit hits me to get you to see it's not about the messenger, it's about the spiritual message. So I snatch off that wig, I wipe off the makeup, and I even take out these dentures. That's right, cocaine and alcohol took out my teeth. I could have had them knocked out a few times during those times that were real horrible during my addiction. And so, as a result of being chosen, I have been prepared through the God that I now know to be as transparent and authentic as I can be. Why? Because someone was like that for me that put me on the pathway to being totally transparent and authentic. So I want to share with you just in an orientation form on April the 20th and or the 27th. Feel free to attend both. How building the foundation of becoming totally transparent and totally authentic. Why? Because if you want somebody to believe you, you have had to be set free. You have had to have some degree of humility to tell the truth the way it was, the way it is, right? And therefore, you can really encourage others to do the same thing. And our program, it says we lead by attraction and not promotion. So that's why I snatch off that wig, wipe off the makeup, and take out these dentures. But I put them back then so I can articulate and pronunciate, all right? So please email me at edwina.bell@yahoo.com. EDWINA.bell, ding, 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 at yahoo.com. Okay. I'll bring that up in another a couple of minutes. All right. So then I want to also say to you, by incorporating the five agreements by the Ruiz family. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. And the transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja, which is why I'm here airing from Atlanta, Georgia, attending her business mastery blueprint for coaches, speakers, and thought leaders. And so as a result, I've been able to put together a blueprint, if you will, on the obligations, duties, and I'm going to say the honor to be a transformational speaker, a spiritual coach and or consultant at your agency, your organization, so that I can be used by my creator who has prepared me to share my story, my accomplishments, and most importantly, my honor to be of service to others. And so, if you are in need of a keynote speaker, a trainer, a seminar leader, a facilitator, I'm your person. Because guess what? If you want the truth, nothing but the truth, to set people free or to put them on that journey to be free, then you need to find someone who is truly free indeed. From recovery, emerge enlightened. Therefore, you will become empowered to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. All right. And so I'll be here another day, but this is the third day of the conference of the Business Mastery Blueprint for coaches, speakers, and thought leaders. And so I will be coming to you in the near future through email, through a letter, through a phone call to ask you if you want to continue to help those that you are serving with co-occurring disorders of mental illness and substance abuse. What better person to share than those who have been through it like me? As a result, I am now obtaining my doctorate degree in biblical studies, not to preach. Some ladies at the conference said, Pastor. I was like, I'm not a pastor. I just want to learn more about the God who met me underneath that parked car, delivered me, and prepared me to sit before you this morning. Yes. And so as a result, I will let you know that other accomplishments include I got my master's degree in human services from Lincoln University, and I developed a EAP manual, employee assistance program, to train workers to be representatives to help those with co-occurring disorders save their jobs by obtaining treatment. I also have a TV talk show called Choosing a New Way of Life that's been in existence for over 32 years, just to share the information about addiction and recovery. In addition to that, I wrote my other book called As It Was Written, and my journey from crack to Christ. And it details a 4-year journal entries that I developed, and it was suggested that I record my feelings, my thoughts, my dreams, my failures, any and everything the first 4 years in my recovery. I didn't know God was going to publish it in November of 2015, but I'm so glad he did. Why? Because it is a reference point, and that's one of the reasons why I want to invite you to the April the 20th and 27th orientation on building the foundation of being transparent, and authentic. It begins with a journal. And so I'm also an actress and a runway model, dreams that I had as a child but was discouraged from. So you see, when we apply spiritual principles to all these earthly matters, including and incorporating the five agreements by the Ruiz family and the transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja of P3 University, I'm on fire. But I don't represent any of them. I just utilize the spiritual wisdom that they have to incorporate in my life just to help one more person, be set free. Okay. And so I think that's that. Now, I did want to share a little bit about me being free from underneath a parked car. So on February the 22nd of 1990, at the end of my 14-year addiction, that early morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, streets of Philadelphia. I was getting high with my own stepson. Him and I were both 34, and doing all kinds of sexual favors for him because I just wanted one more. But after it was all said and done and gone, and guess what? It always go. There is no more. And then the transformation that we go through. And he went and became a violent person. I became a person who feared for her life. And so as he administered the first punch, I jumped out the car, started running for my life, got a flashback from the past. If I just get underneath the bed, they can't find me, they can't get to me. Well, I continued running and I saw the slew of cars. If I just get underneath one of those cars, he can't hurt me. I only weighed 90 pounds, dark circles around my eyes, right? Hair all short and matted, face all sunken in, missing several teeth, right? So cocaine and alcohol took my teeth, but recovery gave me some back. But underneath that parked car, the flashbacks continue. Edwina, you was the class vice president, co-captain of the cheerleader team. You had ambitions of being a model, an actress, a phys ed teacher, right? What is wrong with you? Your family deemed you the most smartest of the six kids. You were voted the one to most likely to succeed. Why are you underneath this parked car? And guess what? At the age of 23, as a prostitute, because I became a prostitute before I became addicted to drugs and alcohol. Why? Because I saw it in my family as a child, and I was taught that your life is based on conditions. They want this, they got to pay. They want that, they got to pay. So I knew nothing about unconditional love to that extent. And so as a prostitute, which perpetuated into my addiction, at the age of 23, I got pregnant and I committed murder. Yes, I considered an abortion murder. And when I did that, I said to myself, whatever happens to me, I will deserve. So I've been raped several times, passed around like a bucket, spit on, called all kinds of names. Homeboys say, bitch, do me and do my boys too. If you don't do it right, I'm going to sick these dogs on you. You're either going to yield or you're going to die. And I yield. I yield just for one more, right? I robbed dead bodies, stepped over dead bodies, saw them stacked up in the basement because the young boys who wanted to be drug dealers, we as prostitutes, connived them, manipulated them, and guess what? The drug dealers made an example out of them, right? I jumped in and out of cars, turning trick. I even jumped out of buildings to save my life. I climbed in my family's home through the roof. They came home. I had to go back out, fell off the roof, right? I'm telling you, that world of addiction just continued to flash before me. And I was just done. I was done. And somewhere deep inside me, these words came out. Whoever they say you are, take me out this life now or show me a better way. See, I'm smiling now and I'm not crying because I've been set free. Okay, so let's get to today's topic, which is the Alcoholics Anonymous daily reflection for today. And it is entitled, let's see. Thank you. Before I do that, I want to congratulate my grandson, Bryce the White Dockery. He turned 10 years old yesterday. And see, recovery has given me the ability to be a part of my children's life in a positive way and in an extraordinary way in my grandchildren's life. So what I couldn't do for my children during my addiction, I now do for my grandchildren. And so I would have been there for his birthday, but since I'm in Atlanta, I'm going to give him a shout out. Ooh, 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 ooh. Happy birthday, Bryce. I love you, and I am so proud of you. Okay. I also want to congratulate, listen, y'all. Who would have ever thought in the same family your grandchildren would be selected as the queen and queen of their prom? Well, it first happened to my oldest grandson, Elijah, and his date. They were crowned king and queen at his prom. And then last night, another opportunity that I couldn't be there, my oldest granddaughter, Zanaya Dockery, and her date, Kai, were crowned king and queen. So it must be in the genes. I don't know, right? But I'm just so happy that I can acknowledge them, if not being there this way. So congratulations to Zanaya and Kai on being crowned king and queen. See, recovery allows you to get it right until you get it right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's get into the topic today. And the topic is April. Let's see. Wait a minute now. Okay. Wait a minute. Where are you? Y'all hold tight, hold tight, hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Okay. Here we go. All right. April the 15th, my perspective on AA Daily Reflections, the bondage of resentment. Whoa. I'll be incorporating the 5 agreements by the Ruiz family and transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja. So I want you to take a sip of your coffee or your drink. I'm drinking coffee. Okay. See, it's one thing about being transparent and authentic, it never changes. And I love that because the Ruiz family says we need to tell ourselves and believe that we are the love of our lives. So I am the love of my life. Why? Because we as a human race, we are the love of God's existence, creation. We are his children. And so if I am the love of my life, I learned to forgive myself. I learned to nurture myself. I learned to be kind to myself. But I didn't know how to do that until I was introduced to these spiritual principles. All right. All right. So let's go to the topic. The bondage of resentments. Open up your ears and open up your spiritual ears and open up your spiritual eyes. And let's dissect this bad boy. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay, let me move this out the way. It says here, harboring resentments is infinitely grave, for then we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. And this is from our co-founder, as Bill sees it, on page 5. Okay. Then the person in recovery shares their experience, right? Hold on, y'all. He says, it has been said, anger is a luxury I cannot afford. Does this suggest I ignore this human emotion? I believe not. Before I learned of the AA program, I was a slave to the behavior patterns of alcoholism. I was chained to negativity with no hope of cutting loose. The steps offered me an alternative. Step 4 was the beginning of the end of my bondage. The process of letting go started with an inventory. I needed not be frightened, for the previous steps assured me I was not alone. My higher power led me to this door and gave me the gift of choice. Today, I can choose to open the door to freedom and rejoice in the sunlight of the steps as they cleanse the spirit within me. Oh, my. Are y'all ready to dissect that, baby? Listen, I'm going to cut off just a little bit of my body right now because I want to have this conversation with you. Okay, I definitely want to have this conversation with you. All right, so the title, the bondage of resentment. Yeah. So check this out. Think about bondage. What do you think? Slavery, being in jail. Those are physical things that have happened to you. But what about the bondage in our minds? Yeah, we are slaves to our character defects that far exceeded their intended purpose. And I'm talking about the God given natural instincts, right? Of survival, of procreation, of security, right? And so our characters became defected because of the nature of the world we live in. And as the Ruiz family says, the domestication of the planet, right? But think about the bondage of resentment, right? So now that we looked at bondage, right? Now we're looking at things that are going on in our mind, right? In our spirit. And like I told you before I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and using the five agreements and the transformational teachings by Dr. Sonja, I was of the old spirits using the same body, right? And so when I think about resentments during our fourth step inventory, it talks about how we reveal those resentments and how we can be relieved of them. Okay. So the title, The Bondage of Resentments. Okay. So now let's dissect what the co-founder says, right? He says, right, harboring resentments is an infinitely grave. Do you see that? Harboring resentments is infinitely grave. What does that say to you? Infinitely grave. Harboring, holding on to resentments is infinitely grave. Powerful, okay? And so he goes on to say, right, for then we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. Now, we cut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit when we harbor resentment. It's like we have a cage inside, bars inside. I'm not letting anybody in and I'm not letting anybody out. I am encaged, right? And so then that engagement could take the form of blackness all around us. And so there's no light, there's no sunshine, there's nothing but darkness. Yes. And so when we harbor resentment, that's what happens. We don't want to see light. We don't want light. We don't even want to think about light. We want to harbor those resentments because but it cuts off the sunlight of the true spirit. See, I didn't learn none of this until I got into recovery, okay? So let's dissect it some more by seeing what the person in recovery shares, right? He says here, it has been said, right? Anger is a luxury I cannot afford, right? And so during my years of teaching and facilitating and being a presenter, I often taught anger management. And so the first thing I would say to our participants, put the D at the beginning of anger. And what do you have? Danger. All right. And I began to share my experience and also the history of anger and also get them to identify how they act when unknowingly they are in an anger state of mind. And so that revelation begins to come out, and we begin to put the puzzle together of where that anger can create danger and lead us to something else, right? And so anger, particularly, I'm saying with anybody, but particularly those of an alcoholism, drug addiction, that's the first thing we do. You make us angry, we're going to get drunk. You make us angry, we're going to get high. I'm angry about something, I'm going to say F you, I'm out, right? Anger is not a luxury we in recovery can have, okay? And so he goes on to say, right? Does this suggest I ignore this human emotion? I believe not, right? From what I understand, our higher power was angry, right? It is a human nature, right? It is a natural instinct, right? It is an emotion, right? And so do I ignore it? No. No, no, no. If anything, I need to become aware of it and then take the steps to eradicate it, diminish it, eliminate it, right? And so let's see how we in recovery do that. All right. And so it says, right? I believe before I learned of the AA program, I was a slave to the behavior patterns of alcoholism. Now, see, when we come into recovery, we go back in our history and through this fourth step where we learn those attitudes, ideas, behaviors, and the belief systems according to the Ruiz family of domestication, where all that stuff started and formulated, and so and how it perpetuated even up into our lives right now. And so before I came to the 12-step spiritual program, you know what I mean? I was a slave, right? Not only to King Alcohol, but a slave to the behaviors, attitudes, and actions of alcoholism. Yes, that spirit, right, came through me and it manifested what it wanted me to do, even when I didn't want to do it. Oh, you are going to submit or you're going to die. Okay? All right. And so I got a few more minutes. So then, right, it says here, right? It says here, I was chained to negativity with no hope of cutting loose. Oh my God, huh? I was chained to negativity, right? And so being chained to negativity and drama, that's another form of addiction. Oh yes, yes. People are addicted to drama. They're addicted to negative. Yes, it's an addiction. It says in our literature, all human beings are ill to some extent, and all human beings can benefit from the 12 spiritual principles. Whatever you're going through, they are spiritual in nature to create spiritual experiences and awakenings, transformations to achieve a psychic change, basically an attitude adjustment. Yes, you play that tape all the way through. You learn your patterns, you learn your triggers, you learn the setups, you learn the bait, and guess what? You now have some awareness, all right? All right, so let's continue, all right? Then it says here, right? Okay, the steps offered me an alternative. The steps offered me an alternative. These spiritual principles offered me an alternative. Underneath that park car was my knee bowing experience. You better believe it. You better believe it. For me to cry out with my tongue that he is. And so being the fact that he did not take me out but put me on a pathway to recovery that is spiritual in nature, that means I had to learn some new information once I unlearned the old information that made me the person that I became. So you're telling me that now this vessel can be used for the purpose it was intended when it was created. Okay. And so here he says, step four, I gotta go. Step four, right, was the beginning of the end of my bondage. Step four, it's like opening up your book. Yep. Your life is a book. And when you apply spiritual principles to open up that book through the first three steps, I can't, he can, I'll make a decision to let him. Step four says, let's read your book. Let's find out there's nothing wrong with you. Let's find out what happened to you. Okay. Oh, it's 7:00. I gotta go. Okay. And then he goes on to say, right? Step four was the beginning of the end of my bondage. The process of letting go started with an inventory. And many of you know what an inventory is, right? When we go to a store, there's this on the shelf, this is in the refrigerator, and you have to find out what's outdated, what's working, what's not working, what's spoiled, what's still good. Now we're doing an inside personal inventory. When I say we take off the mask, the physical mask, then we must take off the inner mask that's keeping us from the sunlight, okay? And that inventory does that, all right? I ain't got but another minute or so, all right? Then it says here, right? I needed not be frightened, for the previous steps assured me I was not alone. My higher power led me to this door and gave me the gift of choice. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I will not give anything or anybody that much power ever again to make me go back to drinking, to tell God to kiss my behind, or to remove me where God has placed me. Oh, hell to the no, no. And so I know today I have a choice, because that obsession and compulsion was relieved from me underneath that parked car. So you better believe, with the steps in my life now, I have a choice. I ask myself often, Edwina, is what you thinking, what you want to do, what you want to say, is it going to feed the flesh or is it going to feed the spirit? Then I make the choice. You know, I tell you, but this recovery is something. All right. And then the last thing he says, today I can choose to open the door to freedom and rejoice in the sunlight of the steps as they cleanse the spirit within me. Donald Lawrence says we are not a natural being having a spiritual experience. No, we are spiritual beings living and walking this natural journey called life. God says, listen, I created you. I gave you your spirit. I selected your vessel for you to seek me, because now that life has surrounded me, has encaged me, has bounded me, created all kinds of booby traps, I can set you free only if and when you have that knee-bound experience. Because before then, you'll think it's all about you, and boo-boo, it's not, okay? It's about our Creator. All right, I got to go. I got to get ready to go back to my conference today. So I just want to end by saying, listen, join me on April the 20th or the 27th, so that I can share with you how I'm able to share all this stuff, right? Without feeling any guilt or shame. Are you kidding me? My job is not to please you. My job is to please my Creator. Therefore, I can help you by being authentic and transparent everywhere I go. Thank you and God bless. Enjoy the day. If it's His will that we are together tomorrow, I'll see you then.